begin tonight with a Fox 17 consumer warning. It involves a local shoe repair business some customers say is never open.
It's the end of an era for McAllister Square in Greenville. The last original tenant is calling it quits after 43 years.
Off in the distance, at the back of the Ronaldo Shopping Plaza in Winston-Salem, you can hear a low rumble.
It's a dying art.
Hello, Cecil Shoe Repair.
And what kind of shoe is this?
Have worked continually at this shop since about 1968. I came back to Wisconsin in 1966 from the military, the Marine Corps, and I worked under construction work throughout the week, and then on Saturdays I would help my father at his shop. Eventually I took the business over.
So my name's Nathaniel Hawthorne, and I'm 29 years old. I started making shoes when I was 22, and I started a repair shop in Madison when I was 25. So about 4 years ago that I started this business, Heel and Sole Connection. I got into the industry because of a desire to make my own shoes. So I have really wide feet, and so my mom and I decided to take classes together in Chicago and learn how to make our own shoes. So that was when I was 22. I was still working as a chef then, and then so we did that for several years before I got into actually repairing shoes. So I just had a drive. I saw this place is going to close, a 30-year-old shop in Madison, and it was just going to add to the tragic, tragic assembly of stores closing, and it kind of hurt my heart a little bit.
It started when I was a teenager. I really liked leatherworking. Of course, that was back in the 70s when craft and leatherworking was a big deal. I mean, a lot of people were doing it, and got interested in that and sort of interested in making footwear and shoes, sandals, moccasins, that sort of thing. And went to law school and practiced law for quite a while, and there was just something sort of still in the back of my mind about wanting a more direct relationship with a customer and being able to actually fix things.
So I grew up in North Carolina, and I got into sewing at a pretty early age. So in middle school and high school I did just a lot of like sewing doll clothes or just sewing clothes for myself for like my middle school dance or things like that. So then when I got to college, I wanted to major in fashion design. And then my last semester of college, I did a study abroad program in Budapest, Hungary, doing only math. And my roommate in my study abroad is from Wisconsin. And she told me there's a company up here who's hiring a lot of math majors. So I applied and ended up working at a healthcare software company for 6 years. But I never really loved what I was doing at Epic. I never was really that interested in healthcare software. So I found out the previous owner was selling the shop, and so I called her. I talked to Sally, who previously owned the Monroe Street Shoe Repair. I came in and shadowed her for 2 afternoons and decided it was something that I really wanted to do.
I happened to be driving down the street one day and on Monroe Street in Madison and saw a sign in Monroe Street Shoe Repair, Sally's shop. She had a sign, help wanted. So I went in and talked with her. I was already sort of experienced with leather and some of the tools of the trade, so to speak, and I didn't really know anything about shoe repair, but I had made shoes and boots and sandals, and so it looked like a good fit, and so I started working with Sally, and she was a fantastic teacher, really very skilled shoe repairer, and worked for her for about 3 years or so, maybe a little longer, and then started my own business.
So for the first 6 months after I purchased the shop, Sally was training me.
I couldn't find apprenticeships to save my life. literally I was willing to move anywhere in the country to find an apprenticeship. I had no obligations tying me down at the time, so I looked for several years. That's the period between 22 and 25 is me looking for apprenticeships and not really being able to find any. So I just started learning on my own. Started watching YouTube videos, trying to meet other cobblers through Facebook and Instagram and things like that. And over time it worked. So the shoes that I was making, I was fixing as well. I had some really great guys here in town who were willing to help me with repairs that I didn't know how to do at the time, or things that were too difficult for me to do. I could take to them and they could explain it to me. So definitely had some nice guidance. And then I hadn't really thought about doing repair as a career. You know, I wanted to do shoemaking, and I still think that's part of like my end goal is to be making shoes mostly, like every day. That would be the dream.
But while I was working at this business, I also started to produce some shoe and leather care products. My goal was always sort of to reduce the amount of repair I was doing as the amount of production rose. So I'm going to be closing up the repair aspect. Yeah, I think generally, let's just say from a national perspective, I mean, back in the 50s and 60s, there were over 150,000 shoe repair shops in the United States. There are now fewer than 5,000.
There were a wide variety of shoe repair shops in Madison. There were close to 20 shoe repair shops.
But there's a need for repair. You know, there's so many shops that are closing across the country, either because there's not enough business or the shoes that are coming in the door aren't repairable. You know, a lot of companies don't design things to be fixed anymore. So trying to find creative ways to fix those shoes that aren't technically supposed to be fixed is a big part of the job.
And I have people, customers, who have been sending me things from upstate New York, actually from all over the country, because they don't have a shoe repair near them, or they've tried the shoe repair near them and they're not happy with it. Probably back in the 80s, and even prior to that, shoes were fairly inexpensive, and people expected pretty fast and cheap repairs. That has really changed over the years, at least with my clientele. More and more companies are bringing manufacturing back here. A lot of young people who are really interested in sustainability, who are interested in buying fewer things but better things.
People are starting to be more aware of the stuff they're getting. They're interested in spending more money on nicer shoes and then getting those shoes repaired, as opposed to, you know, previously where it was very consumeristic and people would just buy, you know, new shoes every year. This shop, and I think it's similar for other shops, has actually seen, you know, steady growth, and I think that is a testament to the community in Madison.
So unfortunately, in this country we're bringing the shoe manufacturing back, and manufacturers are building these shoes and boots that are made to be repaired, and that's at the same time that a lot of shoe repair shops are sort of aging out with no exit strategy. There's not a young person coming in to learn the trade from them. So I think we may be running into a situation where shoe repair, good quality shoe repair, is going to be really concentrated into shops that know what they're doing, and manufacturers are going to say, if you want it done correctly for our shoes, you need to send it to this place. That has already started with places, big repair houses like Resole America, Resole Patrol. I mean, I would love to see small shops stay in business, and I think the way to do that is for small shops to become really, really skilled. So it's a really great opportunity for people. At the same time, I think we're going to be losing some shops. So the state of affairs here, I think, is going to be a little dicey for a while.
Yeah, so in Madison we're really lucky to have had some very stable cobblers in the city to kind of hold the torch for the generations to come. George Fabian on Park Street, his father was a cobbler, and I think his father was a cobbler as well. So the man had been doing it since he was a child, and he just retired this year. He's 86 years old, I think. And then Sally trained Peg and Ken on how to do shoe repair. So Sally is the previous owner of Monroe Street Shoe Repair, who sold it to Bridget. So she did a good job of training cobblers in the city to do really good work. So as far as Madison goes, I think we're safe.
Are you ready, Boots? Start walking.